government.
Absolutely. Now, Manoj, this is not the first time that the Congress member has really made statements against the Prime Minister when it comes to something of this shocking nature. Can you take us through what's happened in the past with the Congress and their statements as well?
Yeah, in fact, if you look at, you must remember that statement by Mani Shankar. In fact, now BJP leaders here in Madhya Pradesh, they are saying that all the time these party members of opposition, in fact, particularly from the Congress, they keep on targeting Prime Minister Narendra Modi. That's okay. They can target Prime Minister on the issues. In fact, there must be some issues on which they should target Prime Minister Narendra Modi. But how can they use such a foul language against anyone, particularly against the Prime Minister? He's a Prime Minister of the country. He's not Prime Minister of the BJP or the Congress or the Aam Aadmi Party. He's Prime Minister of this country, and how can they use such a foul language against Prime Minister? And that is why Madhya Pradesh government and can even go to the extent, as I was referring to you, that they will file some case against Raja Pateria on this matter.
Absolutely. Now, this, as you mentioned, is a big shocker because you cannot openly threaten the Prime Minister of our country like this. Can you tell us more about how the BJP has responded to this? Because you were saying that the Home Minister has, the MP Home Minister has.
Yeah, in fact, BJP leaders are saying that this language, what he is saying, that he was saying that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to put an end to election. Then he said Prime Minister Narendra Modi is dividing the nation on the basis of religion, caste and language. And then he is saying that there is a threat because of the Prime Minister to tribals and minorities. And then he keep on saying, objective language which we cannot even use against the Prime Minister. And that is why BJP is reacting very sharply on this matter. And in fact, we are just waiting what the Madhya Pradesh government is going to do, and we are waiting from Home Minister. I'm at his residence and waiting for his response.
Yeah, of course. Now, Manoj, one thing this does put the spotlight on is the Congress, because essentially this is not the first Mantri that has said something like this. And what we really need to... All right, change of plans. I want to cross over to Manak Agarwal from the Congress, who's joining us on the line right now. Mr. Agarwal, thank you for speaking to CNN News 18. We want to discuss the statement that's been made by a member of the party of yours, where he's basically calling for the killing of the Prime Minister. How do you justify this?
देखिए, पटेरिया जी का ये उद्देश्य नहीं था. पटेरिया जी के मुंह से निकल गया. उन्होंने इसके लिए माफी भी मांग ली और किसी भी कांग्रेस पार्टी के किसी भी पदाधिकारी का या नेता का इस तरीके का उद्देश्य कभी नहीं हो सकता. उन्होंने तत्काल इस चीज का खंडन किया और माफी मांग ली.
पर मुंह से कैसे निकाल सकते हैं ऐसी स्टेटमेंट?
वो निकल गया. उनका गुस्से में रहे थे उस समय, भाषण देते समय गुस्से में निकल गया उनका, और इसके बाद उन्होंने तत्काल माफी मांग ली.
All right, Mr. Agarwal, I want you to stay on the line with us because we're also being joined by BJP's RP Singh. Mr. Singh.
They have diverted these cars that came out of Nirbhaya funds, as private security vehicles for those rebel MLAs. This government has totally failed to employ and deploy the vehicles, the law and order, the policemen needed, the strength of police that we need for the citizens are now being deployed to safeguard those 40 traitors.
Yeah, 100% it's a false charges. He has not studied well. निर्भया स्क्वाड जो बनाया गया है, उसका जो भी व्हीकल्स हो या इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर जो बनाया है, वो सब काम होम डिपार्टमेंट की तरफ से अच्छी ढंग से चालू है. ये एक ही दुर्भाग्य की बात है कि अपोजिशन के लिए कुछ भी नहीं है. अगर आपको इतनी चिंता है, निर्भया स्क्वाड की चिंता है, व्हीकल्स की चिंता है, पुलिस की चिंता है, अगर कुछ गलत हुआ है ऐसा आपको लगता है तो आप आपके माध्यम से स्ट्रेट आके और प्रेस के सामने कहे कि आज से गलत हो रहा है, इसके लिए मैं मेरी प्रोटेक्शन विड्रॉ करता हूं.
Good evening. Hello Hello and welcome. You're watching CNN News 18. This is Nation at 5 with me, Poonam Burde. In 4 days from now, it will be 10 years to the horrific Nirbhaya gang rape case. A case that sends shivers down our spine even after a decade. But in what could be the biggest insult to Nirbhaya's memory and a betrayal of women across the country, the Maharashtra government is now under the scanner for misusing funds allocated under the Nirbhaya Fund. Shinde government continues to face flack over the use of Nirbhaya funds for vehicles for protecting states' MLAs and MPs. Some vehicles that were procured for women's safety under the Nirbhaya Fund are allegedly being used for security cover for the Shinde faction in the state. The opposition has now hit out at the ruling government and claimed that these vehicles that were brought under the Nirbhaya Fund are also being used for G20 security and for transportation of G20 delegates. Now facing flack over the last 24 hours, Maharashtra DGP has cracked the whip. DGP has now ordered the withdrawal of all of these vehicles from the security convoys of these politicians. But the state government is brazening it out, calling the allegations baseless, the state government instead turning the tables on the opposition.
लगातार आरोप हो रहे हैं पिछले 2 दिनों से कि एक तरफ महिलाओं पे अत्याचार बढ़ रहे हैं, दूसरी तरफ जो निर्भया फंड है उसका ही दुरुपयोग ये सरकार कर रही है। आप ही के एमएलएस को उस फंड से गाड़ियां जो ली गई हैं उनमें से सिक्योरिटी प्रोवाइड की जा रही है।
निर्भया स्क्वाड जो बनाया गया है उसका जो भी व्हीकल्स हो या इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर जो बनाया है वो सब काम होम डिपार्टमेंट की तरफ से अच्छी ढंग से चालू है। मतलब आदित्य ठाकरे इन्होंने जो ये उपस्थित किया मुद्दा, मैं इतना ही कहूंगा कि होम मिनिस्ट्री अपनी डिपार्टमेंट, पुलिस डिपार्टमेंट अच्छी ढंग से चला रही है। जो आरोप कर रहे उससे पहले उन्होंने थोड़ी स्टडी करनी चाहिए थी होम डिपार्टमेंट की या स्टेट पुलिस की, ताकि उनको पता लगता था। और मैं उसके आगे भी जाके बोलूंगा, अगर आपको इतनी चिंता है, निर्भया स्क्वाड की चिंता है, व्हीकल्स की चिंता है, पुलिस की चिंता है, अगर कुछ गलत हुआ है ऐसा आपको लगता है तो आप आपके माध्यम से स्ट्रेट आके और प्रेस के सामने कहे कि आज से गलत हो रहा है, इसके लिए मैं मेरी प्रोटेक्शन विड्रॉ करता हूं, मैं मेरे पास जो व्हीकल्स है मैं विड्रॉ करता हूं। 100% इट्स ऑफ ऑल चार्जेस ही हैज नॉट स्टडीड वेल, ही हैज टू टेक ऑल द डिटेल्स अबाउट इट, then he can come and say how many vehicles they are misusing, how many staff they are misusing, and how many people you are misusing for your family purpose. That also it will come out.
First of all, tell us, you all have gathered here today to raise a voice against the Nirbhaya Fund, which is being misused allegedly. What is the issue and why do you call it misuse at this point?
I'll tell you why it's misuse. Central funds, a special corpus was created after the unfortunate gang rape that happened in Delhi, and that corpus was only to be used for women's safety across the states. They have diverted these cars that came out of Nirbhaya funds as private security vehicles for those rebel MLAs who have unconstitutionally gone against the state and its own voters. The story is worth investigating, and if there is misappropriation, it has to be investigated. The child has not suffered injuries, the child is dead. And that is because this government has totally failed to employ and deploy the vehicles, the law and order, the policemen needed, the strength of police that we need for the citizens are now being deployed to safeguard those 40 traitors.
सर, आपकी पार्टी ने एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट मुद्दा उठाया है कि जिस तरह से निर्भया फंड जो औरतों की सेफ्टी के लिए यूज़ होना चाहिए था वो उसमें यूज़ नहीं हो रहा, बल्कि एमएलएस को वाई सिक्योरिटी देने में और G20 के डेलीगेट्स उनको सिक्योरिटी देने में यूज़ हो रहा है। कैसे देखते हैं इस पूरे मामले को सर?
देखिए, महाराष्ट्र में जो हो रहा है वो ठीक नहीं है। ठीक है, आप लोगों ने एक सरकार बनाई है, शिव सेना को तोड़ दिया, 40 MLA तोड़ दिए। अगर वो इतने हिम्मतबाज है, हमने हिम्मत दिखाई, तो उनको इतनी सिक्योरिटी क्यों चाहिए? आगे 2 गाड़ी, पीछे 2 गाड़ी, 10-10, 20-20 गनर लेकर घूम रहे हो। आप निर्भय हो तो निर्भय रहिए। जो निर्भया के लिए जो यंत्रणा बनाई थी हमने, उसका इस्तेमाल करके आप महिलाओं की सुरक्षा को ऐसे हवा में छोड़ दिया है। आज महाराष्ट्र में महिलाओं के ऊपर अत्याचार 4 महीने में बहुत बढ़ गए हैं। केंद्र सरकार की मदद से ये सत्ता परिवर्तन हुआ है, तो केंद्र को बोल दीजिए, सेंट्रल का फोर्स उनकी सुरक्षा के लिए भेज दीजिए। तो ये 40 MLA जो आपके है, जो आपके कब्जे में है, आप उनको भी दीजिए ना। हमारा फोर्स राज्य का जो महिलाओं के लिए बनाया है उसका इस्तेमाल आप क्यों कर रहे हो?
सर, आज पार्लियामेंट में भी इस मुद्दे को उठाएंगे, आगे की क्या रणनीति रहेगी?
हमारी महिला मेंबर्स उठाएंगी और हम उनको सपोर्ट करेंगे।
ये वीआईपी कल्चर ये नए ईडी सरकार ने लाया है, वो बहुत एक गंभीर बात है, क्योंकि ये ईडी सरकार बहुत संवेदनशील नहीं है इस मामले में। भले किसान हो, महिला हो, शोषित हो, पीड़ित हो, वंचित हो, इनके लिए इस ईडी सरकार को कोई वक्त नहीं है। ये बस सिर्फ प्रोग्राम में व्यस्त रहते हैं और टीवी पे व्यस्त रहते हैं। और ये महाराष्ट्र का और हम सबका दुर्भाग्य है कि ये ईडी सरकार सिर्फ ऑपोजिशन का आवाज़ दबाने में लगी हुई है। महाराष्ट्र का विकास करने में उनको कोई रुचि नहीं है।
Now, there's massive controversy over this alleged misuse in Maharashtra, but let me break it down for our viewers of what exactly this fund was meant for. It was set up 6 years ago, and what it is really being used for in Maharashtra as far the allegations go. Now, this fund is meant to implement schemes for women's safety and security, including emergency response support teams. Instead, in Maharashtra, we see the cars that are being brought under this Nirbhaya Fund are being used as escort vehicles for MLAs and MPs of specifically the Shinde faction in the state of Maharashtra. Another use of this particular fund is to set up Mahila Police Volunteers team. They will assist in ensuring safety and security of women in the state at every state level, at the local level. That's the point of this fund. But instead, you have cars that have been procured under this fund that have been allocated for security of MLAs and MPs who already have Y+ security in the state. Now, another reason why this Nirbhaya Fund was set up was to provide legal aid and psychosocial counseling to the victims. That's another use of this particular fund, which is why the centre disburses that fund to every particular state. Instead, these cars that have been bought under the Nirbhaya Fund in Maharashtra are allegedly being used as escort vehicles not only for the state government and their representatives but also for G20 delegates. Remember, it is India's G20 presidency and events are being held across the country, including in Mumbai and Maharashtra, and allegedly those cars are being used for that as well. So, can the state really defend by deflecting the blame to the opposition? Let's debate that. And opening this up, joining me on this broadcast, spokesperson of the BJP, Rajiv Pandey, Krishna Hegde, leader of the Shiv Sena of the Shinde faction, Sanjay Gupta, leader of the Shiv Sena of the Uddhav Thackeray faction, will also be joining us shortly. But before we get into the politics of this, I want to get in social activist Brinda Adige. And Brinda Adige, it couldn't be any more disheartening or insulting to the memory of Nirbhaya. 10 years on, where are we left with as far as women's security is concerned? Just this year in Parliament, we found out that 2/3 of the Nirbhaya Fund is disbursed. Only 2/3 have been disbursed. The utilization is even lower. And then we have issues like this that come up from different states where the fund in itself, what has been disbursed, is being used for things that it's not supposed to be used for.
Absolutely shameless state of affairs. Talking about protection of women, safety of women, and the taxpayers' money. Nirbhaya Fund was set so that women who might become victims of sexual assault, sexual abuse, will be given some kind of support from the state. And over here in Maharashtra, we are seeing that these are being used for elected representatives who could not even stay true to their own parties. What is the security required for them? Why is it that these vehicles are utilized for them and not for the citizens? How is it that the elected representatives can even justify that all women across Maharashtra are safe? And that is why they deployed this for the elected representatives. One. Two, if they are elected representatives, elected by the citizens, the voters, who would want to kill them, who would want to harm them? Why are you wasting our money, taxpayers' money, to extend Nirbhaya's funds to give support to these people? Is that not outrageously shameless? Should not the whole of Maharashtra hang your heads in shame? Especially those who claim to make policies and laws for the protection of women and children? Absolutely disgraceful.
Absolutely, and this also comes at a time when we are hearing different kind of cases come to the fore from Maharashtra, even from Mumbai, where we had that Korean YouTuber being harassed and molested in on the streets in Bandra, which is a prominent locality in Mumbai. And if that can happen to a YouTuber while she's filming that, we had a case yesterday again from Palghar in Maharashtra. The lens is on women's security in the state, and which is why I want to ask the representative of the Shinde faction on this debate. And Krishna Hegde, how can the state come out and defend this? how can we have ministers come out and say that the opposition doesn't know what they're talking of? So you're not exactly claiming that there is misuse. You're actually going on to defend it and saying the opposition is going into minute details just for the sake of it.
No, let me first get to the basic point. Has there been a single documented evidence that these 30 vehicles have been used? No. These are allegations. And then the allegations come with, we'll have a probe, we'll have an audit.
We have the Maharashtra DGP withdrawing those vehicles, sir, today.
No, but
what more proof do we want?
Has there been a single evidence, documented evidence that this has happened?
So then what is the Maharashtra DGP withdrawing if this is not true?
No. Then let me come to this. Because the social activist madam also referred to a few things and called shameless and all that. I must tell you that since the inception, there were 5,800 crores which was allocated by the central government, out of which 3,700 crores has been released. The share of Maharashtra in this 3,700 crores were around 280 to 300 crores. When the Shiv Sena faction of Uddhavji was in power, along with the Congress and the NCP, who are making allegations about women's safety and security now, from 2019 to 2022, they did not spend a single penny on women's security, and they gave the excuse of COVID when there were 8 lakh cases of atrocities and harassment against women registered in police station. So why there should not be an audit on that? Secondly, the funds allocated were 300 crores and the cost of 30 Boleros, which is 3 crore rupees, which they are talking about and making such a hangama, is 0.1% of the money which was supposedly, which we have taken, is 0.1% of the funds allocated by the central government to Maharashtra. Thirdly, when these people have not done anything and now they are asking for an audit, the timing is such that when the Honorable Prime Minister comes to Maharashtra and announces around 75,000 crores of development work and hands it over to Maharashtra and to the nation, these people are making an allegation to divert the issue. And now because the G20 is going to be held in Mumbai, they are going to keep flogging this issue. Firstly, let me tell you, they have done nothing in the last 3 years about women's security. There were high profile cases
and the opposition on this debate will respond to that.
But
Mr. Hegde, I want to come back to the point that I was asking. You said that these are in the realm of allegations. Then what is the Maharashtra DGP withdrawing? And you yourself say, but the spend is less than 1%. So it's okay. But the spend was meant for Nirbhaya Fund. It was meant for police stations, not to give security to MLAs and MPs in the state.
Madam, you are not allowing me to speak. Just before this government fell, this Mahavikas Agadi government led by the Congress, NCP and the Shiv Sena, who are making these allegations, they bought 220 Boleros, 35 vans, Ertiga vans, 330 motorcycles of Pulsar and 200 Activa bikes. And they spent some money on this, and out of which they are saying 30 Boleros are used for this. Now the cost of one van was 25 lakhs and they have paid 3 crores. Of course there should be a probe. Of course there will be an audit, and the audit will be on what they have spent and what funds they have misused. And the social activists are saying the right thing. There has been misuse of
So there is misuse of funds, but it's not by the current government, but it's by the previous government. Is the allegation?
And yes, totally. And we
so you agree that there is misuse? So you agree that there are these vehicles that you yourself said were in the realm of allegations, but now you're saying that yes, they are being used for security, but look, they were bought at an inflated price by the previous government, so ask them. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, we are not saying ask them. I'm saying stop making absurd allegations when there is a big big meet like a G20 or the Prime Minister coming here and trying to divert the issue from development areas.
So it's just diversion and deflection. And Mr. Hegde, sorry to interrupt you there, but I request all my panelists to stay on with us. We have some more breaking news coming in to which we're shifting focus, but we'll come back to that big debate on the misuse of funds. For now, shifting focus to more news coming in, and now Bollywood actor Nora Fatehi has sued Jacqueline Fernandez. She says that lost shows and deals due to Jacqueline's claims of her involvement in the Sukesh Chandrasekhar scam, the 200 crore extortion racket in which both the Bollywood actors are under the scanner. Ananya, my colleague, now joins me for more on this. Ananya, sensational development there coming to the fore, a defamation suit being filed by Nora Fatehi.
Well, definitely it's a sensational development taking place in this particular case. And remember that both Nora and, in fact, Jacqueline Fernandez are a person of interest in this particular case. While Jacqueline has been named as an accused in this particular case, Nora is still a person of interest and a witness in this particular case. And it's been said by Nora Fatehi that her name is being used to tarnish her image. In fact, she said that she had made cordial relationships with all her industry colleagues. However, this is an attempt to tarnish her image, even though she had made some great contacts with all those in the industry, but still attempts are being made to tarnish her image because she is a very talented actress, is what she's saying, and also somebody who's respected in the Bollywood fraternity. And that's the claim that's been made by Nora Fatehi in her defamation suit that's been filed before Delhi's Patiala House Court. And we'll have to wait and watch as to how the court would react when the matter would come up before it. As soon as a hearing takes place on this matter, we'll get to know as to how much of a legal sanctity does this particular defamation suit pertain. Because remember that both of these people against whom this particular case has been filed, Nora Fatehi and Jacqueline Fernandez, both the complainant and the respondent in this particular case, are a person of interest in this 200 crore duping case. And while Nora Fatehi is still a witness into this particular case, Jacqueline Fernandez in the money laundering case has been made an accused, while in the EOW case she is still a person of interest and a witness, and has deposed before the police and also made certain statements recently in this particular case.
Absolutely, and that's really the distinction between the two, Ananya. Like you were pointing out, Nora Fatehi has been examined by the agency, but she's been examined as a witness. Whereas the agency, the Enforcement Directorate, believes that Jacqueline Fernandez did have some role to play, which is why they're treating her as an accused. They believe prima facie there is evidence of wrongdoing on Jacqueline's part.
Well, definitely. In fact, it has also been stated that it has, in fact, I'll read down a portion of this particular suit for you, that it has to be started to become evident that the aforementioned rivals are being unable to compete with the complainant fairly in the industry and have started to tarnish her reputation, which would cause loss of her work and hence would open up greener pastures for her rivals in the industry. It's also persistent to submit here that the reputation of the person in the film industry is an asset, and any denting to this same could cause a huge and irreparable damage to the person. So basically she's trying to say that Jacqueline Fernandez is trying to tarnish her image so that she could get better work in the industry.
Now, Ananya, this also comes at a time when Jacqueline herself is trying to get out of the case. She has approached the court for the charges to be dropped altogether against her, this especially after bail was granted to her a couple of weeks ago.
Well, definitely, we've seen how Jacqueline has constantly been coming before the court of law as the arguments and charges have begun in the money laundering case in this particular case. And what is also very, very persistent to mention is that in the ED case, particularly, Jacqueline Fernandez is being tried as an accused, and we'll have to wait and watch for the arguments and charge to complete as whether or not Jacqueline would be charged in this particular case. Remember, Section 3 and 4 of the Prevention of Money Laundering Act have been invoked against Jacqueline Fernandez, and then Enforcement Directorate at the current point of time is trying to make good its case against Jacqueline Fernandez, Sukesh Chandrasekhar, and the other accused person in this case. And it is also Nora Fatehi, whose statements are being used by the enforcement agencies to actually nab Jacqueline in this particular case. So somewhere or the other, this can be certainly called attempt by Nora Fatehi to defend herself before the court of law, and somewhere or the other to defend her witness status in this particular case. So it is a matter of time as this case comes to the court, we'll get to know whether or not this particular case would be adjudicated before the court of law, or would the court completely dismiss it.
Right, so what happens in court remains to be seen. But as far as this particular defamation suit is concerned, Ananya, what is it that Nora Fatehi is now seeking? Is she seeking financial damages from Jacqueline?
Well, Nora Fatehi filed this particular case under 499 and 500 of the IPC, clearly seeking a defamation charge, and has asked the court to take cognizance and to try and punish the accused person for committing this particular offence under Section 500 of the CR of the IPC. So somewhere or the other, she's trying criminal defamation to be invoked against Jacqueline Fernandez in this particular case.
Right, so that's the latest coming in as far as the 200 crore extortion racket scandal is concerned. Nora Fatehi and Jacqueline Fernandez, both actresses allegedly linked to Sukesh Chandrasekhar, were under the scanner of multiple agencies, including the Enforcement Directorate. Now we have Nora Fatehi suing Jacqueline Fernandez allegedly for dragging her into the entire scandal, and that has caused loss of revenue, loss of finances and deals to Nora Fatehi, which is why she's dragging in Jacqueline Fernandez and taking her to court. Now, this defamation suit has been filed, Ananya, by the Bollywood actor. Which court are we expecting to actually pick up this matter or perhaps be dismissed, as you were saying? Ananya? I believe we do not have that line with my colleague Ananya Bhatnagar, who was getting us the latest as far as this new twist that has emerged in the conman Sukesh Chandrasekhar case. Jacqueline Fernandez, remember, this morning appeared before the Patiala House Court. Now she faces not only allegations of wrongdoing in the extortion racket, but also a defamation suit filed by Nora Fatehi. Let's shift our focus back to the big debate that we were having here in Nation at 5 and whether or not the Maharashtra government is guilty of misuse of the Nirbhaya Fund to shield and protect its own MPs and MLAs, even as the daughters and women of the state are left wanting. Rajiv Pandey of the BJP continues to be with us. Krishna Hegde of the Shinde faction of the Shiv Sena, right before we had to take that little break from this debate, was saying that yes, an audit is required, but it's not of the current government. The audit needs to be done of the previous government. Sanjay Gupta, how do you respond to that?
मैं यही पूछना चाहूंगा कि महाराष्ट्र सरकार को क्या इनकी अर्थव्यवस्था इतनी खराब हो चुकी है कि इस टाइम जो फंड महिलाओं की सुरक्षा के लिए लगाया जाना था, वो फंड आज ये विधायकों की सुरक्षा के लिए लगा रहे हैं। आप मुझे बताएं कि विधायकों को ऐसी कौन सा खतरा है, ऐसी कौन सी इमरजेंसी है तो जो विधायकों को उस सिक्योरिटी को दे रहे हैं जो महिलाओं की सुरक्षा के लिए लगाई गई है। अगर कल को कोई ऐसा हादसा हो जाता है किसी भी महिला के साथ, तो क्या जवाब देंगे ये? मुझे आप बताइए कि विधायकों को ऐसा कौन सी असुरक्षा थी जो महिलाओं की सुरक्षा को काट करके और उनके फंड की जो है वो विधायकों और मिनिस्टरों को लगा दिया? बताइए मुझे, इसका जवाब दीजिए आप। बीजेपी और शिंदे दोनों से पूछता हूं मैं
जी। एंड बिफोर दे आंसर दैट, संजय पांडे जी, संजय गुप्ता जी, मेरे को आपसे ये भी सवाल पूछना है। जो एलिगेशन कृष्णा हेगड़े लगा रहे थे कि ये जो एलोकेटेड फंड्स में से जो व्हीकल्स खरीदे गए थे वो इन्फ्लेटेड प्राइस पे खरीदे गए थे उद्धव ठाकरे जी के सरकार के समय, तो ऑडिट कीजिए, लेकिन ऑडिट उसका भी कीजिए कि वो पैसे कहां गए।
देखिए, हेगड़े जी ने तो सुबह तो ये कहा था कि उद्धव जी की सरकार ने कुछ किया ही नहीं। जब उद्धव जी की सरकार थी तब तो ये साथ थे, और जब साथ थे उस वक्त कोरोना काल चल रहा था। उस कोरोना काल में उद्धव जी ने जितना बढ़िया काम किया उसकी प्रशंसा तो खुद प्राइम मिनिस्टर साहब ने की, सुप्रीम कोर्ट ऑफ इंडिया ने भी की। आज अगर कभी ये कहते हैं कि उस वक्त कोई भी फंड नहीं खर्च किया गया, और आप ये कह रहे हैं कि वो
जी
कम पैसे की चीज, पहले क्या बात कहना चाहते हैं
जी? एंड बिफोर
फंड ज्यादा
जी, so Krishna Hegde, what is it? The Uddhav government didn't do anything, or they did it, but there was misappropriation. It can't be both.
Sanjay Gupta ji has got it very, very wrong. I said that when the Uddhav ji's government, the Congress, NCP and Mahavikas Agadi government, Shiv Sena government was there, they did not spend a single penny for the women's security and protection in 2019, 2020, 2021. And when they were leaving the government in June 2022, they made this bulk purchases. So I am very clear in what I say. And over that, in 2019, 2020, 2021, I also said that there were over 8 lakh cases only in 2020 and 21. And when there were 8 lakh cases, the government did nothing against for the protection and security of women. That is exactly what I said.
Sure.
And
so it's the blame game that continues between the two factions, between political rivals, and it is the women of the state that ultimately suffer. I want the BJP spokesperson on the panel also to come in. And Rajiv Pandey, we've heard defenses coming to the fore from the Shinde faction so far. Unfortunately, the Maharashtra BJP has not been so vocal. Why is that? Is there some reason for them to not be vocal about this, to come out and perhaps clarify on what exactly happened?
Namji, these all issues they are creating just to change the focus. BJP government at the center as well as the state is working on the development. Yesterday, more than 75,000 crore rupees project were handed over to the people of Maharashtra. They are talking about the Nirbhaya Fund. Just you remember when Uddhav Thackeray government was in the state, one lady, Ketiki Chitle, wrote one poem. The whole machinery was only to arrest. That CID was involved. And finally, what they got? the courts have chided them. Court said, why you are taking action like this?
Sure.
So they are talking about women empowerment. That is my first point. Second point, the whole world's focus is right now on Mumbai because of the G20 program going on in Maharashtra or
Sure.
Mumbai. So they are trying to divert, because they are knowing very well, particularly the Uddhav Thackeray faction, that they have nothing left now. You see what kind of work this government is doing. The moment the government changed, the speed in all infrastructure project has gone up.
Sure.
You can see Navasiva Sea Link. You can see that Samriddhi Mahamarg. You can see the airport construction near Mumbai.
Rajiv Pandey, I just want to ask you
Allow
one
me to
question.
complete. Poonam, I have waited for 20 minutes. Just
Sure,
let
go
me
ahead.
complete first.
Sure.
Second, Brindaji is saying why the elected representatives are getting protection. First of all, I do not accept this allegation that Nirbhaya Fund was used. First, I want to say, at the outset, I am saying these are allegations which has no basis. Second point, Brindaji is saying why this, we know why this is. Because, the people like in this country, there are areas which are trying to ignite caste disputes. There are areas in which Naxals are trying to disrupt. There are areas where they are trying. I am only saying that opposition and so-called social activists, I am not talking about Brindaji. These so-called social activists are only working against the country.
Sure.
Right now, G20, we should discuss G20 program. We should discuss about Samriddhi Mahamarg. They are talking about 0.01%.
There are important issues to be discussed, but so is this. I just want to ask you one question. Because you said that this is a completely baseless allegation. There is no truth to this. Then what has the Maharashtra DGP withdrawn? Please tell me that.
I'll come. Maharashtra Police DGP is empowered to employ the resources available with him. Now,
so they were employed to the security of MLAs and MPs, right?
Ma'am, I am saying if anybody has done illegal act, he will face the consequences. I am saying DGP is redeploying the things. But what Sanjay Gupta was saying, their government was involved in 100 crore Vasuli. Government, the biggest businessman house was there was a
so between the allegations are baseless and between the allegations are baseless and will take action if there is illegality. Clearly the state government of Maharashtra seems to be swinging both ways. Unfortunately, I'm running short of time, but that controversy there continues, and I thank you all panelists for joining me here on this broadcast on Nation at 5. We are slipping into a quick break here on this edition, but there is a quick reminder for our viewers, and that is the big news that is now coming in for car owners.
Well, it's not the first time it is happening. Earlier also, the leaders from UP has that will cut the Prime Minister into pieces. So this is an ongoing stated mindset of the Congress party, which keep reflecting by various leaders. Various leaders keep talking on this line, and then this can't happen without some basic consent or some basic line being drawn by the higher up, because how can a leader say that I'll kill the leader, or let's kill the leader, or let's kill the Prime Minister of the country? So this is clear that it's somewhere in the mind, because they can't defeat BJP or the Prime Minister Modi electorally or democratically. So that's why they're indicating that let's kill him. And earlier I remember Mr. Manish Shankar Iyer has gone to Pakistan and has yielded against to Pakistan to help remove Prime Minister Modi. So they can go to any extent because they don't believe in democracy or democratic institutions.
Absolutely. Now, how is your party prepared to deal with this statement? Are you going to be filing an FIR? What are you going to be demanding when it comes to action against this Neta?
The local BJP will take initiative in this and do whatever is desired in this matter. But this is clear that this affects the DNA of the Congress party, which if they can't remove a person democratically, then they get into other modes and means of removing the person from the electoral process, or from the country, or from the democratic process of the country.
Controversial statement of MP Congress leader about Prime Minister Modi. Madhya Pradesh Congress leader and former minister Raja Patoria says that the Prime Minister will divide on the basis of religion, caste and language. He then goes on to say, and I quote, "Be ready to hurt the Prime Minister if the Constitution is to be saved." This is a big shocker coming in.
मोदी धर्म जाति भाषा के आधार पर बांट देगा, दलितों को, वनवासी आदिवासियों को और अल्पसंख्यकों का भावी जीवन खतरे में है। संविधान यदि बचाना है तो मोदी की हत्या करने के लिए तत्पर रहो, हत्या इन दशा कराने का काम। कार्यकर्ता की उपेक्षा नेता की उपेक्षा होती है, और नेता जब कार्यकर्ता की उपेक्षा होती है तो
Now I'm crossing over to News 18's Manoj Sharma to get us more. Manoj, ये मंत्री ऐसे क्यों कहा?
Yeah, in fact, he was addressing his party workers there in Panna district of Madhya Pradesh. In fact, last night he was talking to party workers, and he was saying that Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he was referring how he's going to put an end to elections in this country, how he's going, he was simply, his allegation was that Prime Minister is in fact dividing the nation on the basis of caste, creed, language, all these things. These were the wild allegations by the former Minister of Madhya Pradesh. Raja Pataria was the minister in the Vijay cabinet. In fact, he is also saying that, referring to, very objectionable language was used by Raja Pataria, and that is why BJP has reacted very sharply, and we are right now with Madhya Pradesh Home Minister. He is also reacting on this matter, and in fact, BJP government in Madhya Pradesh, they can go even to the extent of filing an FIR against Raja Pataria for his objectionable comment.
Absolutely. Now, Manoj, this is not the first time that the Congress member has really made statements against the Prime Minister when it comes to something of this shocking nature. Can you take us through what's happened in the past with the Congress and their statements as well?
Yeah, in fact, if you look at, you must remember that statement by Manishankar. In fact, now BJP leaders here in Madhya Pradesh, they are saying that all the time these party members of opposition, in fact, particularly from the Congress, they keep on targeting Prime Minister Narendra Modi. That's okay. They can target Prime Minister on the issues. In fact, there must be some issues on which they should target Prime Minister Narendra Modi. But how can they use such a foul language against anyone, particularly against the Prime Minister? He's a Prime Minister of the country. He's not Prime Minister of the BJP or the Congress or the Aam Aadmi Party. He's Prime Minister of this country, and how can they use such a foul language against Prime Minister? And that is why Madhya Pradesh government and can even go to the extent, as I was referring to you, that they will file some case against Raja Pataria on this matter.
Absolutely. Now, this, as you mentioned, is a big shocker because you cannot openly threaten the Prime Minister of our country like this. Can you tell us more about how the BJP has responded to this? Because you were saying that the Home Minister has, the MP Home Minister has.
Yeah, in fact, BJP leaders are saying that this language, what he is saying, that he was saying that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to put an end to election. Then he said Prime Minister Narendra Modi is dividing the nation on the basis of religion, caste and language. And then he is saying that there is a threat because of the Prime Minister to tribals and minorities. And then he keep on saying, objectionable language which we cannot even use against the Prime Minister. And that is why BJP is reacting very sharply on this matter. And in fact, we are just waiting what the Madhya Pradesh government is going to do, and we are waiting from Home Minister at his residence and waiting for his response.
Yeah, of course. Now, Manoj, one thing this does put the spotlight on is the Congress, because essentially this is not the first mantri that has said something like this. And what we really need to... All right, change of plans. I want to cross over to Manak Agarwal from the Congress, who's joining us on the line right now. Mr. Agarwal, thank you for speaking to CNN News 18. We want to discuss the statement that's been made by a member of the party of yours, where he's basically calling for the killing of the Prime Minister. How do you justify this?
देखिए, पटेरिया जी का ये उद्देश्य नहीं था. पटेरिया जी के मुंह से निकल गया. उन्होंने इसके लिए माफी भी मांग ली, और किसी भी कांग्रेस पार्टी के किसी भी पदाधिकारी का या नेता का इस तरीके का उद्देश्य कभी नहीं हो सकता. उन्होंने तत्काल इस चीज का खंडन किया और माफी मांग ली.
पर मुंह से कैसे निकाल सकते हैं ऐसी स्टेटमेंट?
वो निकल गया. उनको गुस्से में रहे थे उस समय, भाषण देते समय गुस्से में निकल गया उनका, और इसके बाद उन्होंने तत्काल माफी मांग ली.
All right, Mr. Agarwal, I want you to stay on the line with us because we're also being joined by BJP's RP Singh. Mr. Singh, thank you for speaking to CNN News 18. We have this massive breaking development where Congress Neta has essentially called for the killing of the Prime Minister. We have just spoken to Mr. Manak Agarwal, who's saying that it accidentally came out of his mouth and he has asked for forgiveness. But how do you see this?
Well, it's not the first time it's happening. Earlier also, the leaders from UP has that will cut the Prime Minister into pieces. So this is an ongoing stated mindset of the Congress party, which keep reflecting by various leaders. Various leaders keep talking on this line, and this can't happen without some basic consent or some basic line being drawn by the higher up. Because how can a leader say that I'll kill the leader, or let's kill the leader, or let's kill the Prime Minister of the country?
Welcome back. If you're flying from the Delhi airport, especially from T3, it is going to be a nightmare because there are complaints of chaos that continue to pile up amid the holiday rush. Passengers have been taking to social media to describe their ordeal with long queues for security checks. DIAL and the Ministry of Civil Aviation have come up with an immediate action plan to ease the congestion. That action plan is already in place, but unfortunately, the congestion hasn't changed much. Civil Aviation Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia this morning conducted a spot check at the T3 airport. He assessed the situation, after which he spoke exclusively to CNN News 18's Pallavi Ghosh. Listen in to what he had to say.
Are you confident that the 4 steps, kind of announced by the government would be good enough?
Well, first of all, let me say that I had taken a meeting last week to make sure that we ease off the congestion at our airports. I've made a physical visit today. These are not steps that have been announced by government alone. I have taken close to a 2-hour meeting with all stakeholders in the aviation ecosystem. We've actually done a full process study in terms of where the bottlenecks are occurring. How do we ease up those bottlenecks? I've also mandated that we need to be able to put up boards across every gate that talks about the wait time at every single gate. I've also told the airport operator to make sure that we have usherers in place that can direct passengers. The greater the adoption of DigiYatra, I think it will facilitate in many ways all the crowds that we see both at the entry point as well as the security check-in. I have then mandated the airport operator to make sure that certain areas are freed up so that we can have an additional 3 ATRSs or normal systems in place. CISF has put in the requisite amount of staff. As we have increased our capacity from the current 13 to today's capacity of 16 to hopefully in the next 4 days capacity of 17, CISF will provide the adequate amount of staff. There will be no compromise on that.
No compromise in steps taken, says the Civil Aviation Minister. All steps are in place. But is that action plan too little too late? That's the question we're asking here on CNN News 18, where you can call us and share your views. The numbers are flashing on your screens. Unfortunately, many people have missed their flights. They have had a harrowing time at the T3 terminal of Delhi Airport. It is holiday rush. It is not going to ease anytime soon, at least until the New Year's is what many people believe, even though the central government and the Civil Aviation Minister himself are going on to assure the people. Vipul Saxena, aviation expert, joins us on this broadcast. Former Aviation Secretary Sanat Kaul also joins me. And Sanat Kaul, I'd like to begin with you. Many would say this action plan is a little too late. There was a 2-year hiatus as far as COVID was concerned. Before that, these scenes were similar at the Delhi airport and many other international airports as well. Could we have done something better?
You're asking me?
Yes, Mr. Kaul.
Yes, I think we should have done a little better since we are back to pre-COVID times. But it is a little surprising that, pre-COVID we had an X amount of staff and we didn't fill it up. I mean, I presume that they were laid off or they were let off, and now they are not fully back, one. Second, the CISF portion is only sort of, I'm told, 5,000, whereas the requirement is 7,000. The minister has assured and more or less said that the CISF personnel are now in larger number, but we don't know what the numbers are, because security is a very major hurdle in the airport departures. And there, I think there is a need to concentrate more on that, and also on the efficient utilization of the X-ray machines and other machines. So these are two bottlenecks. Rest, the airport people can increase their staff if they need to. They can bring in more ushers. That can be done to meet the immediate requirement. Why is there such a congestion when pre-COVID times it was the same 71.1 million per annum, but I don't know the monthly figure and the daily figure and the peak time congestion, which is not coming out very well in the press.
Sure.
What is it? So with that analysis, we can see that there are certain choke points, and especially the security personnel is a major choke point, which needs to be looked into, and the number of machines which are working, which can be increased or not increased, and their efficiency. These are
Sure.
to be points to be looked into.
Sure, but Mr. Kaul, like you
These
said,
are my
security
initial
is
comments.
extremely important, and that's really the aspect that is being stressed upon as well as far as deployment of CISF is concerned. But at least as far as the Delhi airport is concerned, if I'm not mistaken, there are outsourced private players as well that are in charge at certain points of security, or at least of assisting the CISF personnel. Is that a problem? Is that something that should have been better thought of? Is that perhaps what is leading to delays?
Well, we don't know the coordination between CISF and the private security. It's all a matter that who finally is the authority to clear. Are they only assisting, or are they also authorized to clear? It's not very clear exactly what is happening. And getting private security into civil aviation is another issue, which is, I mean, they can be a secondary help to CISF, but are they mandated to do the security? Are they authorized to do the security and clear them without the CISF putting their stamp on it? I don't know. So these are certain issues. CISF also has their limitation. They just can't induct more staff. They can from other places, but they have a limitation. They need training. They need to, they need longer time to suddenly, bring in more people.
Right.
So I think these issues are serious and critical.
Absolutely. There are serious issues. They require serious measures that need to be taken by the central government, by respective airports in this case, which is the Delhi airport as well. Before I get you in, Vipul Saxena, we also have our viewers calling in with their views and their opinions. The numbers are flashing at the bottom of your screen, viewers. And our first viewer is calling in from Hyderabad. Nahar Singh, yes sir, go ahead.
Okay, madam. What is happening is there's an utter chaos. And what is the point in telling security checkup? Yes, madam. Yes. There's an utter chaos.
Thank you so much for calling in. Moti Sagar from Mumbai also calling us. Yes, sir, go ahead. Have you had similar experiences?
Yeah. I'm just seeing this Delhi airport, your news which is going on, which is a lot of complaints and other things. But recently I was in US in Orlando airport, and I couldn't see anything better there. Hello, are you hearing me?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Yeah. So there was so much chaos and lines set for the security there, and how much time I had to wait for my number to come. There were 8 different queues, and each queue there were about 200 people waiting. This is a center for the security.
Right.
So we only see our country, I say, but even in other countries where there's so much of traffic in Orlando.
Absolutely. So it's a worldwide problem. Yes, it's a worldwide problem.
So we should also add that. We should not just say about chaos at Delhi Airport.
Absolutely.
In your news, I think we should also add this. That is my only information.
Absolutely. These scenes are witnessed at many other international airports as well. And Vipul Saxena, I was going to ask you exactly that. We have seen similar scenes in the recent past, in the last couple of months, at several international airports. We've seen people missing their flights, people who've been sleeping at the airports, who've been waiting for hours together for their luggage to arrive. There has been congestion at many international airports. Should that have served as a lesson for us to be better prepared?
See, I think what the minister said is quite positive. But I think the ministry and DGCA and I would say CISF or airport operator, they have to be a little proactive, and they have to think much ahead of what the challenge is today. And I think somewhere they need to look at the model of Dubai airport or Istanbul airport, where the number of gates are, I think, much more than what they really need at this moment. And some kind of time and motion study has to be done, because they know on an average how many number of passengers they're going to, manage in a day. how many number of flights they're going to manage in a day. And once you do a time and motion study, I'm sure they will be able to get to the numbers that is required minimum. Second point is, so one is number of gates are to be increased. Second is some kind of time and motion studies to be done. And third part is that when you go to the security checkpoint, you find at least 5 to 6 CISF boys working there.
Sure.
To clear 1 or 2 guys, if you take the continuous sequence, 3 guys clearing, it takes about 5 to 6 CISF guys. So I think somewhere if the assisting work can be outsourced or can be given to some other organization, I think that can reduce the load on the CISF, and those people can be reappropriated to other gates for checks. I think these are 2-3 measures which I can think of.
Sure, and these measures are also being put in place as far as increasing of X-ray machines is concerned, or increasing of more ushers, or increasing of more entry points into the airport. All of that is being considered. But Sanat Kaul, I want to ask you, as terms of policy is concerned, should we wait for something like this to happen and then put in an action plan, or should we have a universal policy to deal with this whenever the situation arises?
Well, there should be universal policy, but the main thing about this is of flexibility in recruitment. Now, as far as CISF is concerned or government employees are concerned, there is a rigidity in recruitment. So this increasing them suddenly and decreasing them is not possible. Whereas private airport operators, they can increase and reduce their staff. So when the COVID took place, they reduced it quite a lot. I don't think CISF reduced their staff because they are on permanent employment.
Sure.
And the same staff is in a way back now. I don't know what happened. But why is there such a shortage? Because there is peak time congestion now.
Right.
But this is an issue which needs to be looked into, how to increase and decrease staff suddenly when there are sudden spurts in.
Right, and perhaps this is a lesson that the ministry should also take forward as far as travel is concerned, because this is how it is going to be now that we are back to pre-COVID times. And do stay on with us. Sharath from Bhubaneswar is also calling us, one of our viewers. Yes, Sharath, go ahead. Have you had a similar experience while flying?
Yeah, I had a very bitter experience, and what I find is the lack of coordination between the CISF and the private agencies appointed there. And there's a blame game, the CISF blames the private agencies blame the CISF, and this goes on. And there's utter chaos in the tray management, utter chaos in the luggage sections. And when the luggage comes also, there's a lot of damage to the luggage. So I think the entire planning is not done, and that is one of the reasons why, it is not working out. And, just it's an eye-wash that the minister goes, sees and comes back, and then the same chaos again.
Right. Sharath, thank you so much for calling in and sharing your view. And I also thank our panelists for joining us here with your perspective. It is a nightmare. It has been so for the last couple of days. Unfortunately, experts believe that it will continue. But listen in to some of those voices that we caught up with outside the T3 airport.
You have missed your flight. आपने फ्लाइट छोड़ दी है. डिटेल्स बताइए, कहाँ की फ्लाइट थी, कितने बजे थी और क्या कारण रहा छूटने?
मेरी फ्लाइट सुबह 7 बजे की थी, बम्बई के लिए. एयर इंडिया की फ्लाइट थी. अब मैं बात करता हूँ एयरपोर्ट के बाहर की, वहाँ पे बहुत अच्छा मतलब सुबह ट्रैफिक जाम था. उसके बाद मैं अंदर आता हूँ गेट में एंट्री के लिए. सो देयर वर अप्रॉक्सीमेटली 80 to 100 पीपल जो एंट्री के लिए थे, एंड सब लेट हो रहे थे. मैं नहीं, काफी लोगों की आज फ्लाइट छूटी. जब मैं अंदर गया तो मैं 6 मिनट लेट हो गया, एंड एयर इंडिया स्टाफ ने मना कर दिया कि दे विल नॉट एंटरटेन मी, एंड आई एम मिस माई फ्लाइट. सैड पार्ट इज कि आज मेरा फर्स्ट डे था ज्वाइनिंग का, मेरी न्यू जॉब का, एंड आई मिस दैट. जो रश है, अगर बाहर है तो ऑब्वियसली बात है, बाहर भी चीज मैनेज नहीं हो रही, अंदर भी चीजें मैनेज नहीं हो रही. तो एक मतलब हर चीज के लिए हमें 1-1 घंटा लेके चलना पड़ेगा, तो वो कहीं ना कहीं दिक्कत है. अंदर भी ये प्रॉब्लम आ रही है.
इसके बाद उन्होंने तत्काल माफी मांग ली.
All right, Mr. Agarwal, I want you to stay on the line with us because we're also being joined by BJP's RP Singh. Mr. Singh, thank you for speaking to CNN News 18. We have this massive breaking development where Congress Neta has essentially called for the killing of the Prime Minister. We have just spoken to Mr. Manak Agarwal, who is saying that it accidentally came out of his mouth and he has asked for forgiveness. But how do you see this?
Well, it's not the first time it is happening. Earlier also, the leaders from UP has that will cut the Prime Minister into pieces. So this is an ongoing stated mindset of the Congress party, which keep reflecting by various leaders. Various leaders keep talking on this line, and this can't happen without some basic consent or some basic line being drawn by the higher up. Because how can a leader say that I'll kill the leader, or let's kill the leader, or let's kill the prime minister of the country? So this is clear that it's somewhere in the mind, because they can't defeat BJP or the Prime Minister Modi electorally or democratically. So that's why they're indicating that let's kill him. And earlier I remember Mr. Manish Shankar has gone to Pakistan and has yielded to Pakistan to help remove Prime Minister Modi. So they can go to any extent because they don't believe in democracy or democratic institutions.
Absolutely. Now, how is your party prepared to deal with this statement? Are you going to be filing an FIR? What are you going to be demanding when it comes to action against this Neta?
The local BJP will take initiative in this and do whatever is desired in this matter. But this is clear that this affects the DNA of the Congress party, which if they can't remove a person democratically, then they get into other modes and means of removing the person from the electoral process, or from the country, or from the democratic process of the country.
Controversial statement of MP Congress leader about Prime Minister Modi. Madhya Pradesh Congress leader and former minister Raja Patoria says that the Prime Minister will divide on the basis of religion, caste and language. He then goes on to say, and I quote, "Be ready to hurt the Prime Minister if the Constitution is to be saved." This is a big shocker coming in.
मोदी धर्म जाति भाषा के आधार पर बांट देगा, दलितों को, वनवासी आदिवासियों को और अल्पसंख्यकों का भावी जीवन खतरे में है। संविधान यदि बचाना है तो मोदी की हत्या करने के लिए तत्पर हो, हत्या इन द सेंस कराने का काम। कार्यकर्ता की उपेक्षा नेता की उपेक्षा होती है, और नेता जब कार्यकर्ता की उपेक्षा होती है तो
Now I'm crossing over to News 18's Manoj Sharma to get us more. Manoj, ये मंत्री ऐसे क्यों कहा?
Yeah, in fact, he was addressing his party workers there in Patna district of Madhya Pradesh. In fact, last night he was talking to party workers, and he was saying that Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he was referring how he's going to put an end to elections in this country, how he's going, he was simply, his allegation was that Prime Minister is in fact dividing the nation on the basis of caste, creed, language, all these things. These were the wild allegations by the former Minister of Madhya Pradesh. Raja Patoria was the minister in the Vijay cabinet. In fact, he is also saying that, referring to, very objectionable language was used by Raja Patoria, and that is why BJP has reacted very sharply, and we are right now with Madhya Pradesh Home Minister. He is also reacting on this matter, and in fact, BJP government in Madhya Pradesh, they can go even to the extent of filing an FIR against Raja Patoria for his objectionable comment.
Absolutely. Now, Manoj, this is not the first time that the Congress member has really made statements against the Prime Minister when it comes to something of this shocking nature. Can you take us through what's happened in the past with the Congress and their statements as well?
Yeah, in fact, if you look at, you must remember that statement by Manish Shankar. In fact, now BJP leaders here in Madhya Pradesh, they are saying that all the time these party members of opposition, in fact, particularly from the Congress, they keep on targeting Prime Minister Narendra Modi. That's okay. They can target Prime Minister on the issues. In fact, there must be some issues on which they should target Prime Minister Narendra Modi. But how can they use such a foul language against anyone, particularly against the Prime Minister? He's a Prime Minister of the country. He's not Prime Minister of the BJP or the Congress or the Aam Aadmi Party. He's Prime Minister of this country, and how can they use such a foul language against Prime Minister? And that is why Madhya Pradesh government and can even go to the extent, as I was referring to you, that they will file some case against Raja Patoria on this matter.
Absolutely. Now, this, as you mentioned, is a big shocker because you cannot openly threaten the Prime Minister of a country like this. Can you tell us more about how the BJP has responded to this? Because you were saying that the Home Minister has, the MP Home Minister has.
Yeah, in fact, BJP leaders are saying that this language, what he is saying that he was first he was saying that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to put an end to election. Then he said Prime Minister Narendra Modi is dividing the nation on the basis of religion, caste, and language. And then in fact, he is saying that there is a threat because of the Prime Minister to tribals and minorities. And then he keep on saying, objective language which we cannot even use against the Prime Minister. And that is why BJP is reacting very sharply on this matter. And in fact, we are just waiting what the Madhya Pradesh government is going to do, and we are waiting from Home Minister at his residence and waiting for his response.
Yeah, of course. Now, Manoj, one thing this does put the spotlight on is the Congress, because essentially this is not the first mantri that has said something like this. And what we really need to... All right, change of plans. I want to cross over to Manak Agarwal from the Congress, who's joining us on the line right now. Mr. Agarwal, thank you for speaking to CNN News 18. We want to discuss the statement that's been made by a party, by a member of the party of yours, where he's basically calling for the killing of the Prime Minister. How do you justify this?
देखिए, पटेरिया जी का ये उद्देश्य नहीं था. पटेरिया जी के मुंह से निकल गया. उन्होंने इसके लिए माफी भी मांग ली और किसी भी कांग्रेस पार्टी के किसी भी पदाधिकारी का या नेता का इस तरीके का उद्देश्य कभी नहीं हो सकता. उन्होंने तत्काल इस चीज का खंडन किया और माफी मांग ली.
पर मुंह से कैसे निकाल सकते हैं ऐसी स्टेटमेंट?
वो निकल गया. उनको गुस्से में रहे थे उस समय, भाषण देते समय गुस्से में निकल गया उनका, और इसके बाद उन्होंने तत्काल माफी मांग ली.
All right, Mr. Agarwal, I want you to stay on the line with us because we're also being joined by BJP's RP Singh. Mr. Singh, thank you for speaking to CNN News 18. We have this massive breaking development where Congress...
Welcome back. Now, news coming in the 200 crore extortion racket involving Sukesh Chandrasekhar. Enforcement Directorate has now opposed Sukesh Chandrasekhar's plea for transfer of jail. ED in its 77-page detailed affidavit has said that Sukesh is making another attempt to further his criminal syndicate. Remember, Sukesh Chandrasekhar had written several letters to the Delhi LG claiming intimidation and threats from the now jailed Minister of Delhi, Satyendra Jain, seeking for a transfer. ED has opposed that transfer is what we are gathering. Ananya Bhatnagar with me for more on this. Yes, Ananya.
Well, remember that this whole syndicate of Sukesh Chandrasekhar, the criminal syndicate that was running inside the jail, it was a matter of scanner, and in fact 82 jail officials have been under the scanner of the agencies with regarding to providing him and facilitating him. And now Enforcement Directorate has now opposed his petition seeking a transfer to another jail, because remember that Sukesh Chandrasekhar had made a lot of claims about how he is being threatened by jail officials at the behest of Satyendra Jain and also at the behest of Tihar DG, and later on he was transferred to Rohini jail, and now again he's alleged that he's being harassed at the Mandoli jail. And now the Enforcement Directorate has come in with a reply against this petition that has been moved by Sukesh Chandrasekhar, making its case good, saying first of all that this particular petition that has been filed by Sukesh Chandrasekhar is an attempt to further his criminal syndicate in another jail. It has been said that the petitioner is abusing the process in August forum to further his criminal syndicate, and in order to achieve the same, baseless allegations have been leveled against the jail officials and the respondents here. In fact, it's also been said that the present petition file is the repeat misendeavors in another jail and to exploit the loopholes where jail authorities aren't familiar with his innovative methods of conmanship. The ED basically is trying to say that he's somebody who's very, very smart, and if at all he's been transferred to another jail, he would use those particular jails and the loopholes of those jail officials in order to further his criminal syndicate. Apart from that, it's also been said that ulterior motive to get Sukesh out of the Mandoli jail is to enable him to set up a fresh nexus inside another jail. So somewhere or the other, big allegations coming in. In fact, details of the SIT report have also been mentioned. Remember that a SIT was formed in order to check up as to what kind of a criminal syndicate was Sukesh Chandrasekhar having, and all of these allegations were being tested.
So the ED in its detailed affidavit has now opposed all of that, making some more allegations. For the moment, Ananya, thank you so much. With that, it's a wrap from me on this edition of Nation at 5. Zaka Jacob joins you next.
The attack on the Taran Taran police station is casting